One of the things that I've found with these psychedelic experiences, it really makes ideologies seem, if not preposterous, at the very least insignificant in comparison to human experiences.
Absolutely.
The experience of camaraderie and friendship and love. You realize, like, oh, this is what's important.
This is what it's really about.
Not enforcing your ideas or pushing them on other people and forcing people to behave the way you behave, but instead love. Okay, so what you're saying is essentially that they're using psychedelic drugs to communicate with interdimensional beings. All right.
Yeah, spirit guides.
Okay. Everyone who's done a high dose of psychedelic drugs has had this experience. So everyone who's listening to you right now who's done DMT or done 5 grams of psilocybin, they know that this is you have some kind of communication with something else. The question is that something else inside your psyche, or is that something else, a chemical doorway? Question. Is there a chemical doorway inside the mind that opens up? And the belief is that when you die, and this is what the afterlife is, that when you die, your brain produces these chemicals. These chemicals open up this doorway, and this is the portal to the next dimension. So you're saying that the government is aware of this, and they must be aware of this. They've heard enough people talk about it. They must have done experiments on it.
What do scientists do? They want to know the secrets of the universe.
For sure. And people that have the courage to experiment with these things and try them themselves realize that this is such a profound experience that it's so alien that if an alien landed right now in our parking lot and a little gray man with big black eyes got out, it would be nothing compared to what I've seen on Psychedelic Trip. Have you personally had any experience with interdimensional beings?
Well, because it's all taboo and people...
Well, let me tell you, I have. I 100%
Tell us about it.
Doing DMT. I've 100% communicated with something. The question is whether that something was actually in my imagination or in my mind, or whether that something was something that takes place in another dimension. I don't know. I can't be sure. There's no way to put it on a scale. There's no way to run it through a test. But what I do know is that it's the same experience.
I can be sure.
Okay.
I mentioned Eric Muller, who you know, Mankel Muller. So he went down to a couple places in Central and South America and did it twice. Both times it was 30 to 40 people in the group. And he said, we're sitting there and we take the ayahuasca and then all these basically elves, aliens, come out of the woods and we're all seeing the same aliens. We're all hearing the same thing. And it's like 43 of us or whatever seeing it. And he goes, but it was the drug's effect on our brains. No. A drug, everyone sees something different. If everybody gets drunk, we all think about what happened to us in high school or college or what's good or what's bad. We all have different experiences. When you're taking a hallucinogen and suddenly you're all seeing the same thing, it just means it clicked off the part of your brain as a filter, so you go crazy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of schizophrenic people just see more, and then they see everything. It doesn't mean they're right. It just means that the filter is off.
Well, I always said, like, you ever run your hand over an insect that can't see? They have no idea you're there. They're like certain insects that just don't see anything, whether it's a centipede or whatever. To take one cap, just something light, you'll feel good. The mushrooms want you to like them. And so the first time you do it, they're going to welcome you. They're going to be like, oh, man, this is what you should be doing. Yep. I'm going to straighten out all your personal problems, all these little weird personality tics that you got, all this strange shit, trouble you keep getting yourself into.
I fucking do, too.
We'll help you. The mushrooms are going to talk to you. We'll help you. And then one day they're going to trick you into taking a large dose, and then you're going to meet the aliens. Then you're going to realize that this dimension that we live in is connected to neighboring dimensions that are accessible through certain psychedelics. And then once you see that, you can never unsee it. It's regular life loses its seriousness. It loses like 20% of its seriousness. It's still serious, still regular life, but 20% of it goes away forever. Because you know that that's possible. You know that these other worlds exist and that other people are just out there running through their entire life from birth to death, and they never experience those worlds. And that's weird. You know, Terrence McKenna and Dennis McKenna and all the various psychedelic wizards that are out there that have been sort of expressing that there's a whole world out there that you're not seeing. It's like we're living life inside this very strange tent, this very thin membrane tent. And if you just unzip that tent and step out, the entire wilderness of the universe exists. But most people live their life inside this very thin-walled tent, and they think that tent sort of defines the actual universe itself, when it's so small and so limited.
Is there a chance that you open that tent and you don't like what you see and now you've fucked your whole life up? Because I think that's most people's apprehension about doing that. Like,
specifically,
can you not come back?
Yes. Even if you don't have schizophrenia or a mental disorder, you might have a view of the world that's untenable with the experience that you have under the influence of psychedelics. But that might mean that your view of the world is bullshit. 5-MeO DMT does not strike me as something that you'd want to do a lot. It's so terrifying. That's probably the most terrifying experience I've ever had on psychedelics, because I ceased to exist. Like, it's the one drug where I feel like when I took it, I wasn't there anymore. I was gone until I came back. Like, I felt like I didn't have thoughts. I knew I was experiencing the 5-MeO DMT realm or whatever it was, but there was no context in terms of, I didn't realize I'm on my couch sitting at home. Like, I was gone. There's no visuals. It was just this white, sort of pixelated, like grayish white, gone world. And it was terrifying because it felt like death. It was the one thing that felt the most like, oh my God, like, now I'm not here anymore. But coming back from it, I think it was very valuable. Like, as I was returning, I remember thinking so much about the bullshit way in which I talk. I remember thinking that, like, God, it's like so much of the way I would communicate was not just me trying to get my thoughts across, but me trying to say things in a way that would be impressive, or in a way that would be flowery, or, try to make it look like I was more intelligent than I was, or whatever. But I remember, like, remembering that, like, really clearly, like, wow, I gotta clean up the way I talk, because I'm full of shit. Like, thinking that as I was trying to figure out how I was going to describe this experience, I was realizing, as I was thinking, like, God, I got to figure out how to describe this. Like, boy, I talk like I'm full of shit. like, so there was value in that. But I did it a few times. I think I did it 3 times. But it was terrifying every time. Terrifying. Like, while you're gone, like, while you slip away, I remember just thinking, like, whoa, this is not good. This is not good. Like, you feel like, oh my God, I fucked up. Like, I really died. I really stopped being here. And it also makes you think, like, maybe this is going to the light. Maybe this is what they talk about when they talk about going to the light when you die. Like, maybe you're having this kind of experience, because it's really disturbing, but then pretty peaceful when it's over. Like, I felt pretty good when I came back. But the concept of giving away all of my control of reality like that, for some reason, NN-DMT doesn't scare me as much.
Yeah, I think that it defies description in a different way than other psychedelic experiences do. With something like DMT, it's difficult to describe because there is such an abundance of imagery and thoughts and associations that it's extremely difficult to communicate that to someone. With 5-MeO DMT, there's nothing. And that's also difficult to communicate, that you white out and there's an absence of everything completely.
Yeah. Do you find it terrifying?
I have found it terrifying. Yes, it's very. I had a very profound experience with it in 2017, and I have no real desire to use it again.
Yeah, that's my thought too. It's like, I'm not going back there. I'll go back to NN DMT. I'll go back to that.
Oh, me too, because it's just a different drug entirely.
DMT, which is what ayahuasca brings up.
Right.
It's it's the active ingredient. You're still you. You're not drunk. That's what's weird about it. Well, I don't know what it is, but if you wanted to get real woo-woo, you would call it some sort of a chemical gateway into another dimension, or to another realm that you can't access without it. It doesn't seem like a drug.
But how is it not any different than, I got stoned and I saw crazy shit?
Well, first of all, it's endogenous, right? So your brain actually has this chemical inside of it. It's one of the more interesting things about this drug is that your body knows how to process it so well. Like, if you do coke, right? Like, I'm sure you're coked up for a long time, right? Your body's all fucked up for a long time. Dimethyltryptamine only lasts like 15 minutes.
What?
Yeah, your body recognizes what it is, so it brings you back to baseline very, very quickly.
Really? So if you do this, it's a 15-minute experience?
Yeah.
What did you have you ever had any awakening or vision or?
I've had a lot of visions on dimethyltryptamine. Yeah.
Anything that you once you were done tripping, that didn't seem like the ramblings of a madman, or was it stuff that you were like, oh wow, I had a revelation?
It's hard to say. They all seem impossible to describe to anybody else, other than people that have experienced it. But what it does make you realize is that how the thing that I always felt when I came back is like, how is this possible that you could go to a place like this, or you could see something that's way more vivid and way more powerful than regular life? Like whatever it is, it's not like it's dull and confusing and you feel drugged and you feel less. You feel more. You see more. It's more vibrant. It's more powerful. And whatever is over there seems to know you. It seems to understand. It seems to be you're communicating with something that's far more intelligent than you, far more advanced, and not hindered by all of the things that we're hindered by, like our egos and our nonsense and our insecurities and our civilization and culture. It's like it's some sort of other kind of consciousness, and it's they joke about things. They make fun of you. Like one time I did it, and all these jesters, like this, like a geometric pattern of jesters, like a fractal, like infinite jesters, were giving me the finger like this, fuck you, like mocking me. And the message that I got was that I was taking myself too seriously. Like maybe even like while like my intentions going into the trip, I was taking myself too seriously. Wow. And I remember relaxing on, oh, okay. And they're like, that's right. Like they're nodding their head. Like, yes. Like it was a message like, hey, stupid, you take yourself too seriously. Fuck you.
Fuck you. I like
and
fuck
it was
you.
Gestures, like with a hat and everything.
So in your life now,
Yeah.
like let's say you are stressing out about something that's very seriously, you do the fractal gestures. Do you remember them? And go, oh yeah, I had this.
Very, very.
But you know what I mean?
barely.
Like it. You bring something back that you can practically use in your this dimension, this time.
Humility. There's a humility that comes from real psychedelic experiences that you just because you know that they are possible, it makes you second guess the significance of regular existence. Because it seems like whatever that is, like that might be where you go when you die.
Okay. I was waiting for the.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the moment. So
I don't
here,
know if that's what it is.